Welcome to Nach Simanim. I am Jacob Thomas, and today we will be learning Shmuel Bet, perek Tet. We begin this perek where, remember how in Shmuel Aleph, perek Yud Chet, David made a covenant with Yonatan. Now Yonatan is dead, and David is wondering, is there anyone left from the house of Shaul, so he can show kindness on Yonatan's sake, because of how much he deeply cared for Yonatan. A servant, Tsiba, is summoned, and he reveals that there is actually one surviving son, Mephibosheth, who is crippled in both feet and lives in Lo-Devar. He searches for him, and he brings him to him. Mephibosheth arrives, falls in his face, is terrified, thinking that David is going to kill him because he's related to the last king who tried to kill him, and thinks that he's going to be executed. But instead, David reassures him and says, "Don't worry, I will not kill you." Instead, he grants him a place of honor. He allows him to sit next to him at his table in a feast. He doesn't just not kill him. He brings him in with open arms and deeply cares for him, fulfilling the promise that he made earlier with Yonatan. And he appointed Tsiba to be the head of Mephibosheth's estate. He gives him 50. Tsiba has 15 sons, 20 servants, and tills the land that David gives him, because David gives back the land from his father, and Mephibosheth's house begins to grow produce and is able to support. And we learn that Mephibosheth has a young son named Micha, showing that the house of Yonatan will continue. Mephibosheth settles in Yerushalayim, dwelling near where the king lives. As a recap, we have the search of David to find someone from the family of Shaul. We have the discovery of Tsiba, who reveals that there is actually a son from Yonatan, whose name is Mephibosheth. We have David restoring Mephibosheth's land from his father, giving him a permanent seat at the king's table. And we have Tsiba being assigned to the large house to serve assigned to serve and farm for Mephibosheth. Where in perek Tet, so just like Zichru, we use a teapot. David offers Mephibosheth a cup of tea at his table. This reminds us how David tried to find someone from the house of David, from the house of Shaul, and in the end is able to find Mephibosheth, who is crippled from being dropped during the war against the Plishtim, where his mother was running away with him. And instead of killing him, he shows him incredible kindness, invites him to his table to eat and drink tea with him. So one more time with the simon. David offers Mephibosheth a cup of tea at his table. We're now going to do a 4 perek bat chazar, starting with perek hay. The stack of hay becomes king over all of Israel. This reminds us how after Ishbosheth died, all of Israel comes to anoint David. He becomes king. He unites all of Bnei Israel under one banner and decides to begin to take over Yerushalayim, which he could do now because he is the king. Now perek vav, in which we use a sword. The man that touched the ark at the Joyous Festival got sliced by a sword. So we have the man touching the ark at the Joyous Festival, which reminds us how once David conquered all Yerushalayim and united all Bnei Israel, he then thought, okay, now's the time to bring the Aron to Yerushalayim. And he puts it on a wagon, though, not supposed to happen. As it's falling, Uzzah touches it, and God, in his anger, kills Uzzah, and stopping the Joyous Festival, in which David puts the Aron away, thinking, okay, it's not the right time. But then the person he leaves the Aron at starts to become prosperous, and David's like, okay, now it is the time. And now he brings it correctly with Levium holding it, lots of Joyous Festivals, singing, dancing. The dancing that David does makes his wife mad at him. Perek Zion, in which we use a gun. David's gun can't build the base of Mikdash, but it earns him an eternal crown. We have gun, which reminds us we're in Perek Zion, and reminds us how David wanted to build the base Hamikdash. But he first goes to the Navi, who thinks it's a good idea, but then is told it is not a good idea. And because David's hands are full of blood from killing and from war, hence the gun, and instead, David will be able to have an eternal dynasty. All the future kings will come from David. Now, Perek Chet, in which we use a challah. David's enemies get trapped under a huge challah. This reminds us how David starts to take over many different places, expanding his borders, and he does justice, and we have a description of all of his army captains. He defeats the Moab, he defeats the Plishtim, and all the spoils he gets from this war, he dedicates to the base of Mikdash. We're now going to do a 10-question pop quiz. In which perek does David ask Tzibah if anyone from Shaul's house remains? Perek Tet. In which perek does Shaul consort the witch of Endor before his final battle? Shmuel Aleph, Perek Chavchet. In which perek is Mephibosheth brought to eat at David's table? Shmuel Bet, Perek Tet. In which perek does David capture the fortress of Zion, Yerushalayim, and names it Ir David, the city of David? Perek Hey. In which perek does Uzzah die after touching the Aron? At Peretz Uzzah. Shmuel Bet, Perek Vav. In which perek does David defeat Goliath with a sling and a stone? Shmuel Aleph, Perek Yud Zion. In which perek does Natan HaNavi tell David that he won't be able to build the base of Mikdash? Shmuel Bet, Perek Zion. In which perek does Yoav kill Avner to avenge the death of his brother Esael? Perek Gimel. In which Shmuel Bet, Perek Gimel. In which perek does David defeat the Plishtim at Baal Peratzim? Shmuel Bet, Perek Hey. In which perek does Gidon defeat Midian using only 300 men? Perek Zion. That is it for today. May we be zocheh to finish all of Nach, one perek at a time, and remember it day after day. Have a wonderful day.